Hey folks, so I've already done a video on this subject, but I thought I'd do an updated one and tell you a few stories about my celebrity encounters. For some reason or other, I'm really not able to recognize people a lot of times. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's a learning disability of some kind where facial recognition just doesn't work. But yeah, if it's out of context, I tend to not realize who the person is. I've had customers walk by me on the street and even relatives at times and not recognize who they are. I'm sure there's a name for it probably, but anyway, so that's what I deal with. But anyway, this one time I had a warehouse store, about a 10,000 square foot warehouse store, and had my vintage store as part of it, and did architectural salvage as well. And a local politician came in with another fellow, and the fellow was looking for architectural elements to take home with him. So I happen to have some sandstone elements salvaged from a building in the Exchange in Winnipeg. And I said, well, give me your email and I'll take some photos of these and send them to you. So the guy looked at me kind of incredulously, like, I'm not giving you my email kind of look. And I thought, okay, that's kind of strange, but whatever. And the politician piped up and said, well, I'll give you my email and send them to me and I'll forward them to this fellow. So I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. So I did that, and it turned out the fellow that was in the store with the politician was Bill Paxton, the actor. So yeah, I had no idea who he was, but yeah, it was Bill Paxton. There was another time that a friend and I, a fellow dealer friend, we were standing in his store just chatting away, and it was a fairly busy time. There was events going on down in the Exchange District where he had his store, and we were chatting, and this couple came in the store with their couple kids, and they were looking around, and my friend's wife, who was there as well, they own the store together, of course, and she was entertaining the couple's children while the couple looked around. So anyway, we're chatting away and not really paying attention to the customers or whatever. We're just chatting. And anyway, this couple had looked around, gathered the kids up, and had gone out the door. And then the fellow poked his head back in the door and was like, asked about a Coca-Cola sign that was in the window. And my friend just had it in the window as a eye catcher. So it was more just decor rather than for sale. So the fellow asked, how much it was, and he said, well, it's not for sale, I'm sorry, but it's just display only. And the fellow was a little disappointed, you could tell, but anyways, thanked him and poked his head back out the door, and they went on their way. So anyway, we continued chatting, and once we were done chatting, my friend's wife came up to us and said, did you know who that was? We're like, no, just customers. And it turned out it was Richard Gere and Carrie Lowell, his wife, Carrie Lowell, or wife at the time. So yeah, so Richard Gere and Carrie Lowell. Didn't recognize them at all. And another particular case, when I was traveling down number 1 highway on the Trans-Canada, some lights right near Portage La Prairie, Manitoba, I got a flat tire. So I had pulled over and checked my spare. It turned out the spare was flat too. So luckily there was a station, about 100 meters or so away. So I rolled the tire to the station and was hoping for an air hose. They didn't have an air hose. So I had to call a tire shop. So I walked in and was somewhat busy. There was, a half dozen people in the gas station. And I went to use the phone, and the payphone was busy. There was a fellow talking on the phone. So I basically needed to see a phone book, and I thought, well, the phone book's underneath the payphone, and I couldn't see where the phone book was, so I had to wait. And I was kind of impatient. I was annoyed with the fact that the tires were both flat, and I was just generally kind of annoyed and probably looking irritated, I suspect. So I was just waiting, standing a little ways back from the fellow, but obviously wanting to use the phone. So anyway, the guy glanced back a couple times, and he ended up saying to the person he was talking to, there's somebody here that wants to use the phone, so I've got to go. So anyway, he did that, and he left the phone. And meanwhile, I'm pretty self-absorbed at this point, just wanting to call the tow company and call a tire shop and get this tire fixed. So anyway, went to get the phone book. The phone book wasn't there. I had to end up getting it from the cashier, so I felt kind of stupid there. Finally got the phone book, got the number, called, and then I was standing waiting for the tow truck. And meanwhile, I'm waiting, and there's people chatting in the store, and I'm kind of like, okay, just had kind of a weird atmosphere kind of thing. And then I look out, and there's a tour bus sitting out front. And it turned out that the fellow I kicked off the phone, or that was on the phone, was Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top. Trademark beanie and all, and beard, the whole 9 yards. And it didn't click who this fellow was. But yeah, so that was a clueless moment again. And yeah, I could have gotten an autograph, something. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so ran into Billy Gibbons. And another story, which isn't mine, but is actually was some friends that had another store in Winnipeg as well. Their daughter was taking care of the store one day, and she was in her 20s at the time. And they were from England originally, so they weren't necessarily aware of a lot of North American pop icons or celebrities, that sort of things. But anyway, a lady came into the store, and she was looking for Dion quintuplets stuff, antique snow globes, Indian tree china, and some other stuff. And so this friend's daughter showed her various things, and she ended up purchasing a few items that she was interested in. And so she had the stuff packed up. Friend's daughter packed it all up, and she paid with a gold card. So that's fine. We've seen gold cards before. But so she ran the card through and everything. It was fine, and packed the stuff up, and the lady went out the door, and my friend's daughter realized that the lady got into a limo. So that was kind of interesting. And later, she looks at the credit card receipt closer and reads the name, and it was Joan Rivers in town in Winnipeg for an event for I think it was the Vagina Monologues at the time. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, didn't recognize Joan Rivers. So yeah. So we do encounter celebrities from time to time, but we don't necessarily recognize them. I'm sure I've had other celebrities in the store and probably never realized who they were, whether it be B-list celebrities, A-list, or whatever. Just never recognize them. And when it comes down to it, they're just people as well. So, not necessarily wanting to make a big deal out of it. I know another dealer who's passed on since, but he was at a gas station, and there was a fellow getting fuel there, and he ended up calling him a name that wasn't his, it turned out. he mistook him for somebody else, but it was Philip Seymour Hoffman. But and he was actually quite upset that he wasn't recognized at the time. So anyway, so it happens. Celebrities do pop up, and we don't necessarily always recognize them, of course, but there was another celebrity encounter I had. This one's a little more obvious that you could likely have a celebrity encounter. I was working as an extra on a film in Winnipeg. It was a Western film, dirt streets, the whole 9 yards. They had done it up quite neat. And anyway, I was told by the one of the wranglers, I guess you could say, to walk across the street and in between the camera and the star of the film. So I thought, oh, that's cool. Then they took my glasses away. Well, I'm blind as a bat when I don't have my specs on, so I can't see more than 6 inches in front of my face without it being blurry. So I didn't really have a great vision as to where I was going, and I ended up when I was walking across the street as the star was walking down the middle of the street, the camera, turned out, was only about a foot away from his face, so there was no way I could walk in between the camera and the star. So I ended up walking, I think, just behind or just in front, and they maybe got a glimpse of the back of my head or something like that. But yeah. Anyway, and that star was Brad Pitt. And it was the show was The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, which didn't do too well in the box office, unfortunately, but they sure did a lot of work for it that never got in the film as well. I know we worked 3 days, and basically there was 10 seconds worth of what was shot actually in the film. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that was my encounter with Brad Pitt. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please be sure to like and subscribe and comment below. Have you had a celebrity encounter that was kind of interesting, or you didn't realize who it was, or whatever? So comment below. Let me know. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, like I said, and comment. Take care, folks.